Hello, how are you? My name is Naomi Judge. I'm a naturopath and clinical nutritionist, and I help women connect the dots between their health, happiness, and hormones. And today I'm talking a little bit about progesterone. In particular, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview on progesterone, the hormone itself. Progesterone is a really vital hormone, both in men and women. Low progesterone, in fact, has been shown to cause snoring. So men who snore, maybe have got low progesterone, so it's worth testing. But progesterone is a fantastic hormone, and it is produced after ovulation in women. So ovulation is mid-cycle, we have the follicular phase. Mid-cycle, day 14, we ovulate. That egg drops down and turns into the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum produces progesterone, and the reason it's producing progesterone is it's prepping your body for pregnancy. So in fact, this high progesterone in your luteal phase, really your body is kind of in a pregnant state, because that's when you get those side effects. It's very common for women to think they're pregnant when they're not. The nausea, the bloating, the fatigue, those happen in that luteal phase because of the rise in progesterone. This is what progesterone causes. Thinking pregnancy, same symptoms as the luteal phase. So progesterone is produced in the corpus luteum. It rises. Then about day 21, it drops off suddenly, very suddenly. Now, that drop off of progesterone on day 21 can cause a whole lot of symptoms. Because it's dropped off suddenly, you can get anxious, insomnia, intrusive thoughts, maybe a sudden decline in GABA, maybe a sudden decline in serotonin as well, your neurotransmitters. So you might have a flare-up of depression, you might have a flare-up of anxiety. Some women that have got bipolar might really get impacted them. Some women who've already got depression or they're on medication, they've got anxiety. This day 21 can be a really difficult sign. And then from day 21 to day 28, when your period starts and it's dropping off rapidly, that can be when you get severe PMS symptoms and when your symptoms really flare up. That is one of the places that progesterone is made. Progesterone is also a fatty friend. So progesterone is made and can be stored in fatty tissue. So if you take bioidentical progesterone hormones, that storage of progesterone can actually store up in your fatty tissue, and your body can make it later. This is why we can sometimes get sensitive to progesterone as well, because if we're taking bioidentical hormones, it can store up in our body an awful lot. We've got lots of hormone progesterone receptors in our brain, but we've also got lots of progesterone receptors in our gut, along with serotonin receptors. And this is why we get a lot of gut symptoms as well during the luteal phase. When the progesterone's rising, we can get leaky gut, we can get all sorts of symptoms. But that is where the main progesterone is made. Problems that occur: if you're on the Mirena or the oral contraceptive pill, and you won't be ovulating. So you won't be having this boost of progesterone each month. So your body may be lacking or low in progesterone. When you're menopausal, your body may be lower or lacking in progesterone again, because you're not ovulating. You're not making this progesterone. Another place progesterone is made, or other places, we can actually make progesterone in our adrenals. So we have these other places that we make hormones, because when we stop ovulating, we need to have this kind of backup mechanism. So our adrenals can make progesterone as well. But in our modern day life, we're kind of adrenally insufficient. We make cortisol here and there. Cortisol is made in the adrenals. Sometimes it's too high, sometimes it's too low. Sometimes we don't have enough nutrients to make progesterone. So generally, progesterone itself, if we're stressed, gets made into cortisol. So the problem is we're actually trying to regulate our nervous system by producing cortisol because our modern day life, and so progesterone is actually getting deficient. But really in the adrenals, there is a place to make progesterone. We can make progesterone, but the problem is obviously loads of vitamin C. If we're having too much sodium, that can favor cortisol as well. If we've got thyroid problems, we've got hypothyroidism, that will downregulate progesterone, or we might make more cortisol. And if we're hypoglycemic, again, that might downregulate progesterone. We'll end up making more cortisol, and then that will have a knock-on effect with glucose, because the more cortisol we make, the more glycogen from storage we get, which means the more glucose in the blood, and then again that will downregulate progesterone. So the more glucose, the less progesterone. The more cortisol, the less progesterone. So modern day life, with diets high in sugar, lots of stress, lots of chemicals in our environment, we're actually struggling to produce the progesterone we need in our adrenal cortex. We can also produce progesterone somewhat in our ovaries as well. We have follicle stimulating hormone, we have luteinizing hormone, and the luteinizing hormone then helps to secrete estrogens and progesterones in our ovaries. Again, that mechanism seems to be downregulated as well. And again, if we look back to issues with our metabolism, so we might have issues with our thyroid, that can downregulate hormone secretion as well. One of the things I find helps with the hormone secretion in the ovaries is actually taking a herb called chaste tree vitex, which is actually known to help with the regulation of luteinizing hormone, and this then upregulates the secretion of progesterone and estrogen from your ovaries. So that's why that herb can work so well. But in terms of progesterone itself, the main area for production is the corpus luteum after ovulation. We also can get some production from the ovaries and also some production from the adrenal cortex as well. But that's if things are working well. You know, if we're highly stressed, if we're eating the wrong things, if we're having a lot of endocrine disruptors in our body, this will disrupt the process as well. And if we're also low in nutrients, so low in B6, low in B1, low in vitamin C, low in zinc, this will all have an impact of the secretion of progesterone, how much we secrete it, where from, and also that beautiful hormone cascade. Once we produce progesterone, will it stay progesterone and then get broken down into allopregnanolone, which is calming, or will that progesterone funnel into something else? Because for some women, that progesterone turns into testosterone. For some women, it might actually turn into cortisol, if cortisol is favored, and some it might do some funky things and go back to estrogen. So we have all sorts of things that can go on with the hormones if our biochemical systems are not working in harmony, or if we are out of balance. So I hope that helped demystify how and where progesterone is created in our bodies.